Hello, everybody. Oh, meeting in progress, recorder. Hello, everybody. Hope you're well. This is a bit nerve-wracking for me because I've been billed as being electrifying, and that's a lot to live up to in 30 minutes. And also, I said earlier to Simona that I've got to cram 40 years of corporate and whatever work into 30 minutes. So this is going to be quite quick. I've got an echo somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So what I thought I'd do, firstly, let me sort of finish, sort of start where I am now, which is not the fit at the end of my career, but where I am now. So I'm currently chairman of Not in the Guidebooks, which is a sustainable, responsible tour operator for excursions. I'm on the board of the Montserrat Tourist Authority. I'm a board advisor for an SEO agency, digital SEO agency up north, and also a board advisor for an events company. And of course, the biggest thing is I'm one of the male allies for the Women in Travel, which is one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. And those of you who are not involved in it, I urge you to get involved either as a mentor or mentee. But that's where I am. And I thought, well, today I don't want to just talk to you about my CV because that'd be incredibly boring. So I thought what I would do is take you through the first 10 years of my career, because I think for those of you who are starting off, that's the most key things. The second half, the latter part of a career, which I will touch on, you use all the skill sets that you learn as you go through. But the first 10 years I thought might be interesting, and particularly because mine was very strange how I started. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take you back to the 12-year-old Tony, okay? The little sort of sweet sort of faced little boy. And I know that I haven't changed much, but the little 12-year-old. And I was 12 around about 1972. And the music was glam rock. So it was T-Rex and Slade and Gary Glitter and Davy Bowie. And it was a very exciting time then. And I fell in love with music. I just fell in love with music. And so much so that I determined that I was going to become a famous pop star. And that was my life. That's what I was going to do. And I bought an old guitar, horrible guitar, acoustic, and I used to tie a piece of string to it and tie it to my record player so it looked like I had an electric guitar. And then I got some stars from W.H. Smith's and I stuck them on my face because that was the fashion in glam rock. And I put my mum's wig on and I used to mime in front of the mirror to T-Rex. And that was it. My life was going to be in music. And for a long time it was. I actually taught myself to play the guitar when from 12. By the time I was 14, I was in a schoolboy band, which was fun, playing in the school discos, playing for friends and families' parties. I mean, we were truly dreadful. We were truly dreadful, but we played. And then we practiced and got more, got better. So there is a analogy in that about really practicing and keeping at it because it does work. So by the time I was about 15 and a half, we were playing in pubs and working men's clubs. And I was obviously doing I'm going to say O levels. I know it's GCSEs, but I'm of the age group when it was O levels. And one of the guys who was booking the band said to us, "Do you fancy going to Europe for a couple of months?" Well, I thought, that's fantastic. Here we are. I'm going to be a famous pop star and I'm going to head off into Europe. It's the beginning of my journey. Um, First obstacle was to sort of get my mum and dad to let me go. And they were very supportive. Now, I'm not sure if it was because they wanted to get rid of me or because they actually did think I had some talent. And anyway, I'd like to believe it was the talent side. So we went to have a look at everything and it was great. And I was about 6 months away from sort of finishing and taking my O levels and whatever. And my dad said something really stupid to me. He said, "Okay, this is the deal. I will let you go, but you have to get your GCSEs. You have to get them." And I said, "Well, that's stupid. Who needs like a GCSE chemistry if I'm a famous pop star? I won't need them at all." And he said, "You need a plan B." So take this on board. Everyone needs a plan B in your career, okay? Whatever your career is, a plan B. So I thought, well, that's stupid. But the deal was I couldn't go unless I got my O levels. So I worked. It was a huge incentive. I worked really hard, played in the band at night, did all my studying for my GCSEs, O levels the next in the day, and I got them. And my dad said, "Fine, that's the deal. You can go." So off we went at 16 in a transit van to Europe, playing around Europe. We did that for a couple of months and had a great time. And then we came back to the UK, and we all looked at each other and said, "Well, what do we do now?" We said, "Well, we're in a band. We better do this." And so for the next 5 years, I was a professional musician. And we played all up and down the country, went overseas. We started to write our own music. We got a record contract. We released a couple of records. And obviously, I didn't become an international or global superstar because I'm here talking to you lovely people. But that's part of the point, I think, of this story. So 5 years came on, and it was all going sort of quite well. Getting a little bit sort of frustrated that after 5 years we weren't famous and we weren't getting any real nibbles anymore. And then the big thing in my life happened, that I fell in love. And somebody came into my life and I went, oh goodness, I need to make a decision here. So I had this amazing vision and dream to be a musician. And I followed that vision and that dream until things changed and I had to reevaluate. And we do this in business, or you should be doing it in business all the time. You have a plan, you have a strategy, and you work towards it. You hit something, you can't just keep going forward with it. You have to reevaluate it and then move on. And it was a sad decision for me to move, but I realized I wasn't going to be, famous. And I thought, well, if I can't be famous, I'll do something else. So I left the band, and my girlfriend at the time lived in Guernsey. So I was a little East End boy, and then I was living in Guernsey, and it was just magical. I was surrounded by beach, and I was surrounded by the sea, and it was fantastic. But I needed a job, and my girlfriend's father said to me, he opened the local paper, the Guernsey Evening Press, it was called, and he opened it. There was a little advert in there, clerical officer for Sealing British Ferries. And I went, what's a clerical officer? What does it do? I mean, it could have been a brain surgeon for all I knew. I mean, I had no experience of anything. I'd been touring Europe in a band for 5 years, and then all of a sudden there was this job. And he said, well, I think you work in the office. Okay. And he said, but the good thing is, if you work for them, you'll get free travel. So you'll be able to go back to London. So I said, that's it. So I went in, applied for the job. And I will be talking about luck and self-made muck in this sort of 30 minutes, but that was luck. But it's about taking the opportunity of when something presents itself, and it did. So I went into the interview, and I used my sort of stuff that I'd built up, because what I didn't realise was in those 5 years of playing in a band, I thought I'd lost 5 years. I thought I was behind the curve, but actually I'd learned how to run a small business. I'd learned how to work in a team of people, because 5 years professional and 2 years before was people for 7 years working as a team. And I think that's important, as a skill set for everyone to be able to do. I was able to deal with people. I found out later on that I was quite a good presenter, which you get naturally if you stand on stage and talk to or sing to a few hundred people at a time. Getting on stage and talking about a business with a PowerPoint is quite simple, really. So that was quite good. And I realized I had all these and a can-do mentality, a real positive attitude that we got, working hard. And I didn't realize until later, when someone actually pointed it out, that those skill sets were actually built in. So I thought I didn't have anything to offer. But when I got the job, or went to the interview, I was using some of those skill sets for the people. And I think the real crunch came when the guy said, have you got any qualifications? And I went, well, goodness me, good old dad. And out of my back pocket, I pulled out 6 unused GCSEs. And I put them on the table, metaphorically, as a deck of cards. And they said, "You're hired." So that was like sort of chapter 1, the music chapter of my life, which was a bit strange. I don't think many people do that in their careers, come from left field into business. But then I was in a job. So sort of chapter 2 of the next 5 years was working for Sealink, which I didn't realise, but at the time was the biggest car ferry company in Europe, if not the world at that time. And they had offices all over the country. They had the dominated the car ferry network between the UK, France, Holland, Ireland, Isle of Wight, Channel Islands, obviously, which is where I was. And it was just great. That I was lucky, but I made my own luck. I made sure I got my O levels so I could get the job when the luck presented itself. And that's a thing really on my career about making your own luck as you go through stuff. People don't come along and give you, they generally don't just come along and give you things. You have to make it happen. You have to be outwardly going. I can't see how many ladies are on this lunch and learn, but I would imagine it's majority of ladies. Stephen, you still count as a lady in my books. And if you've ever read Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In, that's a fantastic book, and I urge all of you to read that book. She talks about leaning in, putting your hand up, and I did that, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. So part 2 was now starting a job. Luckily, the company was a big company, and they trained me, and I was able to do lots of different jobs. They taught me how to do, it might sound really boring, but for me, I was like, oh, this is new. Freight inwards, freight outwards, booking office, doing the ticketing, doing the payroll, doing the banking. You know, it was like, oh, what's new today? This is fantastic. I was like a child, really, like, give me more. And then I was talking to one of the guys in the office, and I noticed that he used to go out of the office quite a lot. So he either had an upset stomach all the time, or he was doing something. And I said, look, what you go out quite a lot. What do you do? And he said, well, I'm the salesman for this office. And I said, as you would expect, what's a salesman? What does a salesman do? And he said, well, we negotiate all of the contracts for the freight companies and the car dealerships who bring their cars in and out. And I said, oh, that's great, because I actually work in the freight office. So you negotiate the contracts that I write the things for. I said, yes. Oh, I can do that. See, Sheryl Landberg, I can do that. Put your hand up, you know. And he said, and we get a company car. Oh, that's brilliant. So I thought, I want to be a salesman. So Dream 1 finishes, which is music. Dream 2 starts, being in sales. So again, I was lucky because Sealink every week used to produce a great big company vacancy list, and it was a big company, so it had lots of vacancies. And I used to scour through anything that had a sales name on it, sales exec, sales merchandiser, whether it was in coaching groups or freight, I'd apply for it. And they had to give me an interview. So I was out of the office more than the salesman, because I used to leave Guernsey, go on the ferry, go to London, and then get a train to Manchester or Birmingham and have my interview and come back again. Now, I didn't get any of them, none of them at all. And one of the reasons was not because I wasn't good enough, it was because Sealing used to be part of British Rail, and it was privatised, and they were going through like a 5-year detanglement from all of the union rules. And the union rules before were, if you applied for a job, the most senior person got it, which is crazy in today's modern world, isn't it? If you think about it, you know, rather than put the best people in the jobs, they put the person who's been in the company the longest. So I never got the job, but I didn't care. I just kept going. And then sadly the love bubble burst. You go, oh, I can virtually do an and I thought, well, I need to sort of do something. So I transferred back to London, which was great because it was a big company. So I went to their big call centre at Victoria, huge. I mean, it was I can't tell you the energy and the buzz of coming out of a little office in Guernsey into this mega office. And I kept looking through the vacancy list, and there was one job that came up, and it was called Head of Sales Support. And it was a bit higher graded than I was. And I thought, oh, that's good, because they looked after all the sales managers. And if I can't get a sales manager's job, I will go in to the support team, learn it, and then the next job's mine. And that's what I did, except I applied for the job and I didn't get it. Because the guy came over and he said to me, it was really, he came in and I said, why have you, is he one of the top people in the company? He said, you haven't got the job you applied for. Well, I was crestfallen, you know. I mean, I thought, well, he said, we've looked at your record. You've applied for at least 10 sales jobs. Now all the rules have changed. We don't have to follow the union rules. So he said, we're going to give you a sales manager's job, which was massive. I jumped about 5 grades, and they said, we want you to look after Kent as the sales manager for Kent. So, and I got a company car. Yay. And that started that part of the career, because that's when I truly, because I've been working in the shipping sort of holiday business, but when I was a sales manager, it was looking after travel agents. And that's where my travel agent career started, where I was going out and looking after Thomas Cook's and Thompson at the time, and Hogg Robinson and Pickford and all these companies. And it was really good fun. And I was just immensely grateful. But then I thought, well, what can I learn from that? I'm looking back, what can I learn? I was tenacious. I didn't give up. You know, I kept on going, even when I knew I couldn't get a job, because I thought, well, at some point, even if those rules hadn't changed, at some point, I'm going to be the most senior person. I'm going to get one eventually. So I just kept going. So, and that stayed with me all of my career, about being tenacious. And anyone who's worked, you know, trying to win big contracts, you know, no, we've got somebody in, no, we've got somebody in. Well, okay, I'll phone you in 6 months. I'll phone you in 3 months. So, you know, it was tenacity that sort of got me into that role, and making my own luck. You know, if I hadn't have kept applying for the jobs, when that job came up that I applied for, they wouldn't have seen me and seen what I'd done to get there. So you've got to make your own luck, guys. So that was sort of the beginning of the Sea-Link thing. 5 years in Guernsey, 5 years as a musician. Then the next part was the 5 years at Sea-Link, when I started to go through the company, and I was putting my hand up. I was a sales manager, then I was a key account manager. Then they made me head of the training department, because they restructured that for travel agents. Then they made me the head of the coach and group sales team. So we changed all of that. And then eventually I ended up as the national sales manager for the company. So starting in Guernsey, I was a clerical officer grade 1, and I used to answer the telephone inquiries line, to ending up being national sales manager for a huge blue chip company. And I take from that things like the tenacity, positive attitude, and all those 5 years in the band gave me actually a head start over everyone else, because I'd learned all those transferable skills, which I think if you sat down one day and thought, what are my transferable skills, you'll be really surprised at what you've got in your pot. So because I was, so well known, I guess, you can nod, Stephen, can't you? Because we were competitors. He worked for Sally Ferries, love him to bits, but he was a competitor. We had a fantastic sales team, high profile. And what happens with that is you get seen. So I would be presenting at conferences, and I would be, you know, doing all bits and bobs. And the headhunting started happening. And I have to say, the only job I've ever applied for was the first one in Guernsey, when I actually applied for that job. After that, it was all not, you know, I had to earn it, but I earned it because I was visible. So I was headhunted from there, and I went to Club 1830 as sales director. And that was great, and I learned a whole new set of things. Then I was headhunted from there and went to 20th Century Fox as sales and marketing director. That was completely out of my comfort zone. but it was a good learning curve. And then I was headhunted from there to go to Forte Hotels. Now, a lot of these companies don't exist because I'm so old now. They don't exist in their current format. But Forte Hotels was 240 hotels in the UK, and I went in as sales and marketing director. So it was all good. Different sectors: car ferry, tour operating, film business, hotels, and whatever. But that was the sort of the end of my corporate life, and then the magic started to happen. So I was then headhunted by a company called Holiday Autos, and they were looking for a sales director, and I was on the short list because I was quite well known in the industry. And I was at a conference somewhere in the Mediterranean because it was the gala dinner, and everyone was outside around, you know, it was a beautiful evening, and there was a band, and some of the guys in the band said, well, why don't you get up and play? So I said, okay, and I played. At the back of the room at the bar was a guy called Clive Jacobs, who's the chairman of Holiday Autos, and he said to the MD, who's that? And he said, that's Tony. And they said, right, we want him. So right place, right time, right profile, on stage, playing the guitar. That was it. That's what he wanted. And that began another sort of career move for me. I went into a small private company. I was very lucky to be able to get shares. And we worked very hard. We created a fantastic brand, market disruptive company that changed car rental, I think. You know, I mean, there are loads of car rental companies around now that live really on the coattails of what we did at that time for that business. And we exited that company. We sold it to lastminute.com, and that was fantastic. You know, for me, it's personally fantastic. But I didn't want to work for another great big company. So I potted around for a bit, and then I saw an advert again for a company called Attraction World. And I knew the guy, the advert had a name, contact, and I knew him really well. So out of curiosity, and I think that's another thing I think I would urge you to be in your careers, curious, you know, question things and think, you know, why do you do that? Can I do that? Because that's all I've done. He said, oh yeah, it's this business and we sell theme park tickets and we've got the first e-ticket solution. And I said, well, that's great. And I said, sounds really interesting. And he said, well, because they were looking for sales and marketing director. And I said, well, that's good. He said, well, we can't afford you. And I said, no, you can't. You really can't. I said, but we could do a deal where we can get shares and money, salary and shares. And that's what we did. And I joined that company. And the beauty for me of that was I was able to put into place, because I was one of the main owners. I think I own about 40% of the company. I was able to put into play everything that I'd learned through my whole career. How to do, you know, dealing with people, being tenacious, having a fantastic culture, having a fantastic brand. And what I've learned is that, you know, not only does a company have to have a great culture and brand, but if you can have your own culture and your own brand, you know, whatever your brand then it's going to take you so far, because people will just love you and move you around, you know, and put you into jobs. So I was there again at Attraction World for a while. And we, again, a market disruptive business. I'm very proud of what we did. We ended up with about, I think, 92% market share of tickets sold through the trade. Loads of awards, you know. I mean, during my career, I think I've won about 100 travel awards altogether, which is quite cool. But not me, you know, because it's a team. I've just been, you know, the team leader and the team, and I've had some fantastic people work for me who are still out in the industry, and they're doing great. They've got their own companies and they're doing really well, and I'm so proud of that, which is why I love the Women in Travel and the Male Allyship, because it gives us all an opportunity to put something back in and help. And I was doing it, being paid to do it as a job, if you like, but they got something from it. And then I exited that after about 10 years with another MBO, and let the next level of staff come through and benefit from it from there. So that's sort of in a nutshell what I've done. And I guess the takeout from it is have a vision, and a strategy. And every business school or whatever business course will tell you for your business to have a vision and a strategy. But you need to have one for yourselves as well, you know, because you are, whoever you are PLC. You are looking after your life, because apart from friends, family, and loved ones who say, oh, yeah, we love you, you've got to make the change. If you don't like a job, move. You know, take control of everything you do. So have a vision for your company and goals, but have one for you as well. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. I spent what I thought was 5 years wasted in the wilderness of trying to be an international pop star, but that wasn't to be. And I changed direction, and it didn't hold me back. In fact, a lot of the skills that I learned through that, as I said, you know, what I was able to transfer over. And the thing, you know, and about music, I still love music. I play in a blues band. We tour America. We're just going to release our 5th album. My last one got to #5 in the blues charts. I'm having a great time. You know, I'm not an international star, but I'm doing what I loved. I love music and I can still do it. So that stays with you. Be really tenacious. You know, don't be put off. Don't take no for an answer. Be polite. Don't start getting grumpy, but just keep going. The other thing that I wish the young Tone that I spoke about earlier, the 12-year-old, or let's say the 16-year-old when he was playing the music, is a better example. I wish I knew then what I know now about networking. Networking for you individually and companies is probably the most powerful tool you will ever have at your fingertips. It will allow you to move careers if you want to. It will bring partnerships into your company or partnerships into your own business. It will allow you to look at services. You know, if you need a marketing company, a PR company, you just go into your network and you pull people in. It's the most powerful thing ever. And if you treat it well, a bit like a lovely flower, it will look lovely and look after you too. Those of you in business, be an inspiring leader. That's what I found, you know, be an inspiring leader. Lead from the front, your vision, make sure it's a clear vision. Take people with you on your journey, because Attraction World and Holiday Autos, you know, you could have cut people in half and they'd have the brand through the middle of them. And that comes from leadership, I think. Be fair, but make hard decisions. Learn to delegate. Employ the best people that you can. Push outside your comfort zone, which is really important. I did that at 20th Century Fox. I had no idea about the film industry, but I was pushed out my comfort zone for that. And I think, you know, the thing about women in travel is about diversity. And I need to just touch on that a little bit. I grew up in business in the 80s, which wasn't renowned for being socially correct. If you've seen Life on Mars, you know, and things like that, it wasn't. I was never brought up to be racist, sexist, or anything like that. So I feel blessed that I was able to be, you know, pretty normal, if you like, what we should be now. But you know, Attraction World, when it did matter, I was really proud of that business, because we had 25% of our board were women. One of them was our finance director was black. Our IT team was probably about 80% Asian, ethnic Asians. Our finance team was 50-50 women. The sales team was 90% women. We had a fantastic mix of cultures, fantastic mix of sexes and people. And it works. It really works. It's much better to have a really good blend of people, because trust me, I've been in companies where it's all been men, and it's horrible, because no one listens. No one comes up with great ideas. Well, they do, but you know, they're over talking each other. The whole point of the new generation of business is to have this fantastic blend of personalities and sexes and cultures that make companies really strong. So that's what, you know, I'm now helping much more. I'm trying to make up for the 80s years where it didn't exist, but now it's really important. So yeah, and all of you, you know, read the Cheryl Sandberg book, because it does highlight some of the challenges that women have still got in business about feeling, like I would put my hand up, say, yeah, I want to do it. Whereas I'm not saying it, she's saying it. She's very successful, saying that women will tend to go, well, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm quite ready for that yet. And trust me, you are. Some of the most brilliant people that have worked for me have been girls and women. Well, I say girls, that's very sexist, isn't it? But women, and some of them didn't put their hand up, and we were able to pull them out the trenches and say, you are good enough to do. But what I'm really excited about is the next generation of people coming into business who are growing up with this diversity hat on, if you like, that's going to make it so much better for the future. But we do our best at the moment to help. But that's sort of, in a nutshell, my career. I didn't want to do it as a CV, but there's things in there like takeouts. Well, I think hopefully they might be a little bit helpful. And we've got some time for a couple of quick questions, I think, haven't we?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. I think you really, deserve an applause. I think it's been fantastic storytelling, hearing all your insights. And I mean, I think in a way, looking back, maybe those, in parts, there was more optimism in those years. I think that there is maybe today in parts of the business and the world, I don't know if it's because out of ignorance, because I'm not sure that the world was that much better, but I sense that sort of in parts we had perhaps more hopes and positivity for the future. But as you say, there's a couple of times for question, and I don't want to take time from it. So someone had a hands up? Abby, did I see a hand up? Maybe not. Anyone who has a question, because I have question, but I would like anyone from here. It's your opportunity. We have 5 or 6 minutes. So is there anyone with question?
I don't buy it, I promise.
If yes, Abby, yes.
Hello. Thanks.
Hello.
Really
Hello, Abby. How are you?
Hi. I'm all right, thank you. That was great. Lots of thought-provoking stuff. A couple of things I wrote down because I completely agree with the kind of putting your hands up and getting stuck in. I don't know if anyone else has got opinions, but I sort of feel like whether it is a kind of female thing, but I've found through my career that that is something I feel I've done, but it's never kind of rewarded or recognized in the same way. It's just more, oh, well done, thank you, that's great, just do more of it kind of thing. And I just wonder if other people feel like that, or if it is kind of just a personal thing, or it is a bit of a male female kind of.
I can answer that. I think unless anyone else, it's probably awkward to get everyone else to answer. Maybe, I don't know. But so, have you read Sheryl Sandberg's book?
No, but I'm now going to.
Please do, because you will find what you've just said in it. So I can't. She says something like, if a man puts his hand up, they say, "Well done, John." If a girl puts her hand up, they do say, "Thank you very much." Anyone else? They do that. She talks about examples in conferences when they've run over time and they said, "Right, that's no more questions." And there's been women in the audience with their hands up, and then a guy's put his hand up and they've gone, "Oh yes," to the man, and it's just awful. I mean, we shouldn't be in a world really where it's like that, but we are. I think it's getting better. I hope it's getting. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking, but there are a lot of people, Abby, like you, that suffers from it. And the only thing I can say, be tenacious. Keep putting your hand up, because eventually it will happen. You will. But it's a journey. That's all I can say. That's why we're all in the Women in Travel, doing the male allyship, to start to sort of break those barriers down. But that's my answer. I don't know whether everyone else can do it. I don't know. Can everyone else answer? Abby?
Yes, sorry, I did say I agree with you, Abby, 100%. I felt like that in my own personal journey as well. And I feel like we're constantly treading a fine line between being too ballsy and being seen as basically taking the piss, or being really helpful and great. That's thank you very much. So yeah, I'm I'm buying into the book as well. Tony.
Good. I really liked it, and you know, she was well, she's the COO of Facebook, and she was rated as one of the most in the top 5 most powerful women in the world. She was rated as having more power than Michelle Obama and Angela Merkel at the time, and that's amazing, you know. But if you read it, she will echo, and you will go, oh yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that, and that might give you some real insights. But it's about, you know, putting your hand up, keep pressing. But thanks for that comment, Ellie. That's really good. Any others that we've got? I mean, you can all contact me if you want to. I've allowed my email to be given out to Alice through the thing. So if you do want to, I'm more than happy to, you know, talk to you separately or give you any feedback if you don't want to do it as on a group.
Tony, thank you. I want to say yes, because we are all part of this allyship community. You've got Tony's details on the Google Drive, you know, the mythical Google Drive. I don't know if anyone looks at it, but it's there and it's full of resources for all of you. And we are always going to put the recording, also going to put this recording so you can watch it again. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think that we need to a little bit push the boundary and say, I'm putting my hands up. And I also want to say, okay, so now that you've told me I'm good, what else, you know? And maybe that's when we find ourselves as women slightly, you know, shallow, you know, if we keep doing our job head down, we're going to get somewhere. It doesn't work like that. We've got to really, you know, or at least I've experienced that in my career. You really need to, you know, put your hands up so that everybody sees you and keep challenging. I had a quick question, and I know that we are 1 minute, and I myself, I have to move on to something else as well. But there is a question that for me is important, and I think it's important to a lot of women. And maybe we don't have the time, but perhaps, Tony, you can answer it. And that is about money. Because, you know, what's your relationship with money? Because
I love it.
Women have an issue with money. We have an issue. We don't talk about money. We need money, but we don't talk about it. And we are almost ashamed of talking about money as women. And yet we are all in business. And even us as a social enterprise, you know, the more money we make, the more we can support. So we need money. But as women, there is a kind of taboo around money. Any advice for us, or for me anyway?
Well, the first thing I can say, I think, is on a personal level. Let's take the last company I was in for a while, which is Attraction World. A job was a job. So you were a salesperson, or you were a marketing person, or you were a head of customer service, and we would interview and we would recruit the best person for the job. We didn't work on quotas or anything, but we got the best person. We were colorblind, we were sex blind. We just picked the best person, and the salary for that job was that salary, whether a man or a woman got it. We never paid women less or anything like that. So that's that part. I don't think that's what you were asking, but we need more people, more companies doing that. It's a job. It's nothing to do with, you know, the sex you are. It's the job that you do. And I'm hoping that, you know, I say this sort of movement that's been coming through will gradually build up. I always see it as I see things in colours, because I'm sort of more marketing, salesy. You're pushing this big rock up a hill, and it's really hard work. And this is like getting equal rights, getting equal pay, getting what, you know, it's hard. And sometimes you think, I can't do this anymore. If I let go, it's going to roll back and squash me. But then you start to get on the plateau bit, and it gets a bit easier. It gets easier. And then all of a sudden, you let go of the rock and it tumbles down the other side of the hill. And I've done that with brands, building brands, building them up hard, and then they take off. We've got to do that. We've got to do that for women. You know, it's hard, but I hope it's getting better. I've never experienced it because I've never been that sort of manager. You know, I've always done it in a different way. But I think what quick example, because I know you've got to go, because it's really you've got to go. But the other side of the money thing is that when you you know, you don't like talking about money to get sponsorship and things like that. Is that side you?
The sponsorship, it's not doing things for free, which is one of my bugbear. It's, it's being paid the right amount for work. There's lots of us who are in small businesses, and therefore we need to make the money, but we don't necessarily have the, if I ask to be paid what I think I'm worth, are they going to look at me and think she's cuckoo, or are they going to recognize my value? Because if I'm a man, I will think I'm worth 100 and ask for 200. And if I'm a woman, I think, oh, 100, no, I can't possibly ask for that. Maybe 35, or at least loads of us. I don't want to generalize, but that's my experience.
Okay, well, you're falling into that Sheryl Sandberg trap. Have you read it? You've got to read it, because I'll tell you what, that's exactly what she says. It's confidence. I mean, one of the great things about the male ally, the male allyship, I don't know if you know, but I'm going to plug this. My mentee this year won Mentee of the Year at the awards in the summer, which I think is brilliant, and all the mentees that I've had have been fabulous. And you know what the biggest block for them is? What would you say, Alessandro? The biggest block?
I mean, in terms of their career, and I mean,
Well,
confidence is definitely part of it. I mean, not everybody is the same, but confidence plays confidence plays a huge part. The issue, though, with Tony, I want to say, and we have totally run out of time. I'm going to have to be a tough master. The issue with that is that we put confidence on the women, but confidence is systemic. I mean, it's not about fixing the women. It's about fixing the system that doesn't enable us to be the best version of ourselves, because otherwise we are punishing the women for something that isn't, to do with us.
But if you don't have the confidence and ask for the right level of pay, men are going to get used to being told that that's what women charge. It goes both ways, doesn't it? There is a confidence thing, and I know we could talk about this for hours about the sort of the unbalanced way it is, but it's got to start somewhere, and you have to put your hand up more. You got to have confidence in what you do, and you have to push for it. Now you might push for 200, and somebody might say, "Whoa, I'll pay you 150," but you said that's great. I would have settled for 100. You got to start somewhere. But my experience of dealing with, taking people into my companies when they've come for interviews, the male allyship thing, the biggest single thing is that lack of confidence, and that's all driven by the male level of business. There's no doubt about it. It's like a suppression on the top, and they don't mean to do it. Most men are quite nice, but it's just subconscious in there. But you just got to push more. That's all I can say at this page. It's a journey, Alessandra. You know that we're on a journey.
Absolutely. And I've been pushing the boulder for 20 years. I'm just about feeling that it's getting to the plateau now.
Near the end. I can see the top of the cliff. It's coming.
Yeah, kind of. Right. Sorry, that's all we have time for, because it's 10:02, and apart from myself, everybody, we must respect time. But Tony, I think you were fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we could have spoken for another 2 hours, so we may ask you back and continue the conversation. And hopefully everybody enjoyed and took something out. We'll have more of this, so keep checking back. Okay. Because we got another one in December, and and everybody who is coming, all the allies are all fantastic. Thank you for breaking the ice with this first series, and stay in touch, and see you all very soon. Thank you.
Have a good one. Again. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.